Hey guys, it's Matt from Bullion Now, and I'm back with another interview with another international guest. We have today Bad Apple Bullion, all the way from over in New York. How are you going?
Good. How you doing, Matt?
Really good. A pleasure to have you on board, and you are actually the first, what's the word? Artisanal silversmith that we have on the
Awesome.
show. So it's a pleasure to have you, and I think I'll learn a lot because this is an area that I have no experience whatsoever with. So
Yeah,
I'm looking
pleasure's all
forward to
mine,
this.
man.
Thank you very much. So we'll kick off with I guess, a logical opening question. So, what inspired you to begin pouring silver, and how long have you been doing it for?
So, I got into silver, I want to say early 2019. I bought my first 4 rounds. I think it was like 15 or $16 a piece, and I thought I overpaid for them. Uh, but my first piece I ever bought of poured silver was from MK Bars. And I was like, there's a bunch of stuff that I would like to have done, but I can't find it. So, maybe I could just do it myself and then I can create whatever I want. And that's kind of what got me started. I started with a little, like a whip dish back in late 2019, and I didn't start actually pouring until June of 2020.
Wow, so not that long. The stuff you're producing is incredible. And for those that don't
I
know,
appreciate that.
myself included, a whip dish is what?
So excuse me. It's like a little ceramic, like a dish kind of almost, and it looks like a little bowl. And you have to put like borax in it to kind of glaze it, and keep your metal from sticking. And I butchered that completely. I could not figure it out for the life of me. It lasted about 3 days, and I put it to the side until about 6 or 7 months later.
Wow. And so that the trial and error that you mentioned, is there is that how you've basically learned all along the way? Have you had a mentor, or have you had any kind of learning tools that you have access to?
Yes. So I when I first started, there was only I only got help from few people, but it was like like super newbie questions, and luckily, I got in contact with Gold Spartan on Instagram, and we started talking, and the Spartan Army was born. Basically, what it is a group of people. If like a new pour artist wants to start, they can come to us for questions and answers, and how do I do this, how do I do that, I did this, how do I fix that. So he helped me really start to take off. But I mean, most of it probably, I don't know, like 65-70% of it is trial and error. You just got to figure out what works best for you.
Oh, that's really cool. That's really interesting. So you've sort of created your own little educational community in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a group on Facebook. It's called the Spartan Army. I can't remember the rest of it, but you can join there, and there's like 2,000 plus members,
Oh
and it's
wow.
just anything and everything poured silver. Whether you just want to buy it, or yeah, you want to sell it, or you want to be a poor artist, or you were a
Yep.
poor artist. Just anything and everything poured silver.
Oh, awesome. And I'm also curious about silver as a metal to work with. I mentioned this before we started. This is a totally new realm to me, so it may be a silly question, but do you work with other metals, and is silver easy or more difficult to work with, or what's that like?
You, I'm not really sure about other metals. I was gonna try gold, and I just never got around to doing it. I mean, silver is pretty easy to work with so far. I mean, it's super, bendy. So if you stamp too hard, you can bend it and ruin a piece. So, I mean, it's easy to work with, but you gotta be super careful at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. And in terms of from concept to end product, what's the timeline like? How long does it take for you to produce a piece?
So, a sand cast could be, if I were just to stick with that one piece, probably an hour roughly,
Oh,
depending
really?
on the size of the piece, the detail, if I have to hand file it or hand sand it. And then on the other hand, investment casting, that's usually like, you have to wait for the piece to be printed, and you have to, make the plaster. That's 10, 12 minutes. You have to let it sit for an hour and a half. You have to let it sit in a furnace for 8 to 10 hours, and then you have to pour it and clean it in an ultrasonic cleaner. There's just a lot that goes into it.
Jeez, I had no idea. It's a total different world. So, but to
Yeah.
bring you back a second, what is sand casting?
So sand casting, basically, you take two flasks, and you can use Petrobond, which is kind of like a beginner sand. There's a lot of people that make really, really cool stuff with Petrobond. But I personally use Delft clay. I think it gets the detail a little bit better. It holds its shape better. Um, but basically, you fill these two sides of a flask together with clay, and you put your mold in between, and basically it just makes like a cavity almost of whatever you're trying to cast. And then you just carve like a little channel to pour it into, and that's basically sand casting, I guess.
That's incredibly cool. And
Yeah.
what's it, so again, possibly another newbie question. What is it? It seems quite dangerous. I've seen a few videos. They're getting the heating things to that level. In your backyard or something like that.
Yeah.
Have
Yeah.
you got some safety precautions that you take when you're doing this kind of stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always have a fire extinguisher. I normally wear safety glasses. I always wear, heat resistant gloves that go up to my elbow at least. I don't normally wear like tank tops or anything, to where I could get burned if something were to jump back at me. Um, but safety is super important when it comes to that stuff, because you're working around silver, that's 21 to 2200 degrees, and that's pretty hot. So I don't want to get burned by that.
Jeez. And so I take it you haven't had any incidents? No, does
um,
it ever spit or anything like that if you have anything else in there?
Actually, that just happened earlier today,
Really?
probably about 3 hours ago. I was putting a sprue into the crucible to melt it back down, and I don't know if I just dropped it too quick or something, but just a ton of silver shot just came flying out, and it was hot. Luckily, no one was burned, no one was hurt. So, I mean, you get stuff like that every once in a while, but it's not usually too common if you know, you're being safe with it. You're not playing around, playing games, nothing like that.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Oh, a good cautionary tale for anyone getting into it. And I'm
Absolutely.
also curious as to what your friends and family think of this venture of yours.
Oh, they love it. When I first started, they were kind of iffy about it. They didn't really think that there was, I guess, a market for poured silver.
Yeah.
And, I didn't really either, to be completely honest with you, because the only one I knew about was MK Bars. Um, but like my dad, he's a big silver stacker. So, we're always talking about it. My grandfather's a stacker. We're always talking about it. My girlfriend, she's not the biggest fan, but she still thinks it's pretty cool. So, I mean, I've never really heard anything bad about it, I guess.
Oh, that's excellent. And so it sounds like it's in the family. So that was going to be
Yeah.
one of my other questions. So you're a stacker yourself, and it sounds like you've got a bit of family history in there.
Yeah, absolutely. My dad is the one that got me into stacking a few years back. He always tried to get me to start doing it when I was younger. I mean, I'm only 22 now, so I guess a little bit younger. Um, but I never really saw the value in it. And we went on vacation, and he's like, "You should just try it." He's like, "You're gonna hold it and you're gonna love it." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever, I'll try it." And I bought 4 ounces, and I was hooked from then on out. So.
Oh, that's great. And so do you have is it ever hard to have a distinction between the your poured stack and are you still buying, coins and minted bars and things like that? Do you have I take it you'd have to have a bit of both in your collection now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So normally, if I'm buying, like, I usually buy a lot of poured silver. I've never really kept any of mine. I usually just buy from other artists. Um, if I buy, bars or rounds, it has to be something that I think is really, really cool. But I'd say probably 85, 90% of my stack right now is just poured silver, like statues and different stackers and rounds and bars, just, some really cool stuff from in the community.
Oh, nice one. And so if people are interested in your products, have you got a website or something like that where they can buy directly from you?
I do. Yep. It's badapplebullion.com. You can also find me on Facebook. It's Bad Apple Bullion. Instagram is badapplebullion_ny. You can email me at badapplebulliony@gmail.com. Yeah, that's, those are the best ways to reach out to me.
No, that's fine. And we'll put some little links in the description for you as well and all that kind of jazz. And one final question I have for you, which is fairly unrelated, is this is a fairly creative endeavor. Do you have any other creative outlets? I have a feeling you're a musician or you're an artist or you're something else, aren't you?
I'm not an artist by, not at all. I am a musician. I love music. That's always been, my passion for as long as I can remember. I used to be in a band. But when it comes to this stuff, like I can't draw, I can't paint, I can't do any of that stuff. So it kind of surprised me, getting into a business like this where, you have to be creative, where sometimes you have to create your own stuff. You have to think of, new ideas that nobody else has done because, I like to do some stuff where, where people would be like, I never would have thought of doing that. Who would even do that? Just weird stuff. I like that kind of stuff. So, it kind of surprised me, not being able to draw or paint or nothing like that.
That is really, really cool. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the channel for today's episode. And I look forward to hopefully having a few more conversations down the line and discussing your work in a little more detail.
Absolutely, man. The pleasure's all mine. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. And as always, like, share, subscribe. If you have any interest in hand-poured silver or know anyone that does, share this video with them. Maybe they'll learn something. I know I certainly did. And that's it from me at the moment.
All right. You have a good day, Matt. Thank you.
Thanks very much.